Okay, I'm happy to have this session, and I believe it will make more sense and guys will have to benefit out of it. So, but at least I believe majority of the things we have discussed before. So, like the way you can see, I managed to come up with this, and it's just a recap of what we discussed earlier. Project is a sequence of unique, complex, and connected activities that have one goal or purpose that must be accomplished within a specific period of time on budget and according to specifications. That means they should have quality. You get. So now, the way we discussed, when we talk about an attribute called scope, it means any project must have what we call boundaries. The way you can see, you can both have like a project called maybe school management system, whereby one of those project may encompass things to do with maybe registration of students, as well as maybe doing exams and so on. Then another system can go beyond that, and it calls for uh, even having to do with the school fees of such what students. So basically, it is about to how much a system can contain, how broad the system is. You get. So that is why it is like a car. You see, there are some cars that can have probably maybe four seats with the ACs, and probably some maybe what can I say, first aid boxes and so on. Yet there are some of the same size but without the rest. So now when you are hiring, the cost in most cases can't be the same. So now another attribute that must be in a project is the cost, budget of the project. Now, budget, sometimes it does not only stop at money, but all the resources. Now, when I talk about resources here, I even talk about the people who are going to develop, who are going to design, who are going to collect data, and so on. Again, resources and and the money itself. Then time frame when the project should be accomplished. You cannot come up with a project that does not have deadlines and time frames. You get. So the way how you do even your final year projects, whereby this these projects may take like maybe 4 months or 3 months, depending on your planning. Then it must also have what we call the quality. Quality is judged based on deliverables. Yes, what are you going to produce at the end of the day? You get. So in most cases, to achieve this, you have to follow what we call the project management process. You get that at least, yes, when I finish collecting requirements, I needed to start analyzing, then I design, then I go to develop, I go to test and implement, deploy, and then wind up. So like then you repeat the process. So basically, I want you to understand this. We managed to go through this, whereby now projects, you need to be very careful on projects, because some people interpret requirements differently, most especially because we are training you to work in a team, meaning that a project cannot be done by one individual if it is to easily be successful. Big projects are always handled by teams. Yeah. So that is why you see that now here different individuals or team members can interpret requirements differently. The way you see in the first cell, how the customer explained it. A customer will come and tell you, you know what, we want a school management system that does this and this. But sometimes you realize that now the project leader like maybe a project manager may end up interpreting it differently. And once the project leader interprets it differently, then it is most likely to affect the completion, because it's going to give requirements to like maybe seems analyst who may also interpret it differently. That is why you see in the first cell, the customer explained that he needs a swing whereby the rope is on one branch and that swing has 3 steps. But according to how the project leader interpreted it, you see that now he's putting the rope on on 2 branches, and then the swing has 1 step. You wonder, how did it cross from the other branch to this other branch, and where did the 2 steps go? Then when you go to number 3, the analyst also designed it in a different way, whereby now it's cutting actually even the stem you get to ensure that the swing can go through, that is from end to end. So, and then by the time it reaches the programmer is going to develop something completely different. That is why you can see here, it has already, the swing is already on ground with the rope being tied on what? On the stem, and it is not in space as intended. Then by the time it reaches the business consultant, for him, he has even gone on to bring a sofa and put on top of the what? On top of the swing. And then when you go to, you see the, like, the wrote down the first cell in the last row, how the project was documented, whereby it is just the space with the shadows, there is no tree, there is nothing. And then when you go to the person who takes the system to the product owner to install, for him, he interpreted it in a way that the rope has one what? Has one side, and it does not even have a swing at all anywhere. And then the customer was billed according to this. Number 3, you sit down, whereby meaning that the cost is quite much, because you see this swing is a bit complicated, you get. So meaning that the cost was quite much, and then during the maintenance or support, you realize that the tree was cut as a way of maintaining and making the system, you know, usable by the user. Yet it wasn't the what? The intention or the exact requirement. And then this was the customer. What at the, in the last cell, you can see this is exactly what the customer wanted. Yes, he wanted a swing, but which swing must have a tire on it. Yet he himself also explained something different in the what? In the beginning. That is why, like, you need to understand the requirements very well. That is why I always encourage you to carry on what we call um, you involve stakeholders. Yeah, once you involve stakeholders, yes, someone is going to come and tell you, you know what? Yes, I need something that looks like this. Sometimes maybe when they are referring to red, and yet in actual sense they want maybe pink. But the more you interact with them, the more you will get to understand the exact requirement. Then these ones are some of the factors that normally in most cases contribute to the success of the project. Once you understand the requirements very well, like customer requirement satisfaction, like once the customer's requirements are given attention to and they are able to be embedded into the project, that means this project will succeed. Then, so long as the project does not exceed the allocated budget, yes, the people, the money itself, the resources you get. So meaning that you are not going to add just, so long as, yeah, the 4 people that you allocated for the project managed to accomplish it, that means everything is okay and no one will complain, whereby things will be okay. Then even the time, so long as it is accomplished within the allocated duration, that means it is a successful what? Project. Then so long as it has all the requirements as expected by the user, that is accepted by the customer, meaning that the quality is of high level and as expected, that means it is going to be a successful one project. Yeah, project failure, these are some of the factors that normally leads to what? The failure of the project. Yeah, sometimes when you keep changing what? The plan, then poor requirement gathering, lack of resources in terms of manpower, technical power, money, and so on. Then sometimes we have also unrealistic planning and scheduling. Once you give the project a time frame, which is probably maybe too little, sometimes it is going to affect the what? The accomplishment of the what? The project. So you need to consider that. And then that was about projects. Now it goes to project management. When we talk about project management, now this is when you start applying the skills, the knowledge, tools, and techniques to meet the needs and expectations of the what? Stakeholders of a certain project. Every time you apply the skills, the knowledge, tools, and techniques as a way of trying to achieve what the stakeholders want in a project, that means you are now managing the what? A project. Let me give you an example. The moment, let's assume your course, Bachelor's of Science in IT, is a what? Is a project. That means now the person who is managing the project is the university, right? Now, the moment the university starts to apply the skills by organizing lectures, bringing lecturers, now the tools like providing you with all the necessary requirements, talk about the internet, talk about, the computers to use, and then techniques to meet the needs of you, like, because for you, you want to graduate at the end of the day. That means now they are managing what? A project. That is what I'm saying. Project management is the application of skills, knowledge, tools, and techniques to meet the needs and expectations of the stakeholders of a particular what? Project. It's accomplished through the application and integration of processes comprising of 5 major process groups. I want you to quote me very well on this. We have very many ways of managing projects. The way how you see, there are very many ways of constructing houses. Someone may decide to construct a house by probably first coming up with columns, you get. And there are some people who construct the houses by laying bricks level by level, you get. There are some who may construct flats by using only wood. So different what? Different methods can be used. In the same way, IT projects or information systems projects can be managed in different approaches or methods. But there are some generic standards. You see, even if you are to construct a house or a flat using wood or using bricks or using mud spans, there are some standards that don't change, that a house should have a foundation. Maybe a house should have a roof, whatever nature. It might be a concrete roof, it can be maybe uh, maybe iron sheets, it can be something else, grass and so on, depends on the needs you get. Now, every project must go through these 5 processes. A project must be initiated. Once you initiate the project, then you go to planning. After planning, you start executing. Once execution is done, you monitor and control. And the last stage you will be to do what? To close. So really, it's something that you need to take into consideration. But later, you will realize that now we have different methodologies. Yeah, we have like things like agile, we have other things, waterfall models and so on, as we shall see. Now we have what we call the triple constraints of a project. When you're managing the project, you have to identify requirements, stakeholder management, and then balance the project what? Constraints, whereby initially they were 3. That is why they are called triple constraints: time, scope, and cost. You get. But later it was found out that there are some other constraints that also determine a lot. The project is what? The project is lifetime. Talk about the risks. There is no single project that he will come without having the risks. So as project managers, the moment you have that in mind, that means it will be easy for you to handle and succeed. Then quality is another constraint that has to be given attention to. Yes. So yes, you may come up with a project, but once that project does not have what we call the quality, then it does not make a lot of sense. Okay. Now, these constraints I explained it briefly here, whereby hopefully you can see my screen. Increase the scope. The moment the scope of requirements increase, that means the time must increase as well as the cost. You get, yeah, because that means what you're going to put or develop has increased, and then probably the money has to be adjusted. Then tight time, once you have limited deadlines, increase the cost and reduce the scope. Yes, that means you need to probably add on people who can achieve things very fast because you have limited time. So meaning that is why it calls for increased the costs, because the more people you bring on the project, the more expenses. Then when we talk about reduce the cost, I mean scope means that you need to now prioritize. You may not be in position to develop each and everything at once, but you can prioritize which features are on high demand or which features can lead to an MVP, a minimum viable product. Yeah, something that like a prototype, something that they can work with as further changes take place. You get. Yeah, you see now, like a school management system, we can decide that, you know what, yes, let us make sure that authentication is there, that, if someone can be onboarded or like someone can be registered, then someone who has been registered can like probably log in. After login, they can even choose which course to do, like they can register the program. And then, yeah, at least we say, you know what, yes, we need this system to perform quite a number of activities, but what can we have within this period. So that is prioritizing. You prioritize some features. Then tight budget is increase the time as well as reduce the scope. The moment you have tight budget, expect increase the time and reduce the scope. Okay. When I say you must take or you must make a trade-off, I mean, yeah, trade-off is a situation where you have to the situation, we can say situation, making decisions that involves losing one. So like you may not be able to balance all of them. So, but at least I've highlighted for you that the moment there is increased the scope, expect increase the time and increase the cost. Where there is a tight time, then expect increase the cost and reduce what scope. So always you choose what may work for you. Then we have what we call project life cycle, whereby a project can be initiated, you go to planning, you go to execution, and then close, as we saw played. Then, of course, monitoring and controlling process for it, it does what? It cuts across, like it is a full time. You have to start monitoring and controlling your processes from day one up to the last day of a project. That is because now you have to, during the initiation, you have to keep monitoring. Is everything gathered? Is everything in place? So you keep controlling so that you don't go beyond the scope, as planned, things of that kind. Then the initiation phase is when you have to recruit now the people who are going to do what? Work on the project. So meaning that you have to list the client's needs by defining the scope, identify the people who are going to be affected by the project. Now I'm talking about stakeholders, because stakeholders, of course, these are people who are going to benefit or to be affected by the effects of the project. So you identify these people during what? Initiation phase. Then stakeholder register, contacts and communication have to be well established here. Now, like for us, we use what we call Microsoft products, whereby now for us, we use an official channel for communicating within the different stakeholders. We use Teams. Yeah, Teams is a good one for communicating, that is within the stakeholders of the project, but it's not the only one. There are quite many, but Microsoft has that one that everyone can use. Then it is still through the initiation phase that you can define success criteria, prioritizing the requirements, because like I've told you before, you need to prioritize. That is in most cases where you have the MVP, like maybe by the end of December, we need to have a system that can allow people to register, people to choose maybe courses, as well as to do exams, you get. So meaning that now in this case, you are going to prioritize the requirements and say, you know what, let's have this. That is why in quotes you see must haves. Yes. What features must you have within a specified period of time? Then write one page description of the project, that is in most cases called the project charter, which sets the work to be done, so on. Gaining senior management approval. Yes, in case it is a project of a certain organized structure, you need to get approval. People have to sign and agree. Then in knowledge areas, project integration and project communication management also come in. Then during the planning phase, um, define all of the work of the project. Yes, estimate how long it will take to complete each item. Because now we can say, yes, we are going to have the authentication and authorization module. You get. So now, what do you need? How long will this take? You get. Which technologies do we need to use? Okay, if this is okay, it involves both back end and then the front end, whereby whatever input the user enters must be verified or fetched from the database. You get. So meaning that yes, we need to consider all that so that by the end of the day we have a time frame that is realistic and easy to achieve this. Then estimating the resources required to complete the work. Estimating the resources, yes, how many people you are going to need, which languages are you going to use, and so on. What is the cost um, of the work to be done? Then the sequence of the work should be well outlined here. That is about the system development life cycle, then build the initial project schedule, the timeline. Yeah, we shall probably practically do this using Gantt charts. They are good tools for managing time. Then analyze and adjust the project schedule, writing risk management, like we agreed before. Yes, initially there were three constraints of project management, but then later quality and then risk were also added so that proper management of projects can be done. Sequence of work. Now you see this one. Um, this is an example of how work should flow, whereby you start by system engineering, and this must be completely done before you can go to analysis. And once analysis is done, you can start designing. Once designing is done, you can go to code, test, and maintain. That is according to waterfall model. Like I told you, there are quite very many methodologies, but now according to waterfall model, it is perceived that you first gather requirements, understand the system requirements very well, then you start analyzing what is achievable, what is not achievable, like you try to analyze then what do you need and so on. Then after that, you go to the design. You come up with the logical designs of databases, which tables do you need, you design all the attributes of each table. Then after that, you go to the physical design. Then after that is done, then you start the development, the coding. Yes, now you are putting the designs into real system. Then once your development is done, you can test. After testing, you start maintaining. That is according to waterfall model, but not to all. And that is why it may not, work out to all. Then we have a technique. We have a technique that can work out things very, very well. We have this technique called work breakdown structure, WBS. Now, WBS is when you have to break down work into small tasks. You break down the work into smaller tasks so as to make work more manageable. We don't just break down tasks just for formality or what, but the reason behind is to make work more manageable. Because now, just imagine you have been tasked to move on foot, like from Kampala to Ngozi. You get, but then they tell you, you know what? Every day you can even decide to walk only 10 kilometers. So instead of walking at once, they are telling you something. By the time actually you even reach because you won't feel anyone exhausted. But the moment you are tasked to accomplish that project at once, then you find things a little bit what? Hectic. That is why here in project management, you have to break down the tasks into small manageable portions for easy management and achievement. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Last time I prepared for you a sample project with the well-defined the requirements. I'm going to probably use the same. Let me see. Okay. Like I told you about a ticketing system. A ticketing system is a system that allows companies to get feedback from their clients so that they can improve satisfaction. The way how you call customer care for MTN. MTN is getting feedback from you, a customer, so that they get to improve where necessary, maintain what is good and just adjust accordingly. So now that is a ticketing what? A ticketing system. So in a ticketing system, we may decide, you know what? Yeah, to come up with such a system, let's first have what we call maybe the dashboard. Yes. Once we have the dashboard, then we can say, you know what? We have another module called ticketing. Yeah, we have now two modules. We can have dashboard and then ticketing. Then on dashboard, we can say, you know, we may not develop dashboard at once, but let's now go to define which metrics do we need to be on our what? On our dashboard. Okay, which graphs should we use? Should we use pie charts? Should we use column graphs as we try to represent our metrics? What can we use? So put the different views. Yeah, but maybe we can decide to view our tickets that are coming in form of list view, in form of table view, in form of card view, things of that kind. So then under ticketing module, then we can also go on and split it into small manageable portions. We can say, let us first concentrate on creating a ticket. How can we ensure that once someone comes to our system is able to create a ticket? You get. Once that is done, then you can say, you know what? How about replying to ticket? So this is another what portion. So I'm explaining what breakdown structure. Then after responding to ticket, then you can say, how about assigning a ticket to another agent? How about forwarding a ticket, you know? So things of that kind. So that is about the work breakdown structure. Or you can use this one that I included in the notes. Then when we go to executing phase, acquire project team, develop a project team, write project description document, charter, establish the team operating rules, hierarchy, who reports to who, when do we meet, and so on. Establish a scope change management process, then managing team communication, how do we communicate, how frequently do we do so, and so on. That is under execution. Then when we go to monitoring and controlling phase, establish the project performance and the report system. Yeah, we can easily get to know how the project is moving through performance and the reporting. Yeah, like you need to report about the project progress. Highlight the key areas here. You can highlight what has been accomplished, then what is being worked on, then what are the challenges, and then when should we expect them to be worked on. A very good example, practical, I will have to take you through is what we call Azure boards, whereby now in Azure you get to list items. You have different columns like a to-do list, then you can have doing, then you can have review and done. You get. So like you list items to be worked on, that is to do. Then in the next column, you can list items you are working on at that particular time, that is doing. Then after you have done something, then you can move them in another column called review, whereby a project manager can go through, that is during, they can test to find out whether yes, something has been done as expected. Then later we can move the items to done after confirming that yes, it meets the standards and everything. Then it is still through monitoring and control phase that you can monitor risks. Yes, we expected to have these risks and so on. For example, if like maybe let me take you out of IT projects. For example, let's assume we have a project for road construction, and road construction is going to take probably maybe 12 months. But sometimes we expect maybe floods or heavy rains during a certain month, meaning that you need to monitor risks. Has it happened? Is it about to come? So you prepare accordingly. So that is about monitoring. Then closing is when you obtain what we call the customer acceptance confirmation. Yeah, conduct the post-project phase and review for the impacts and so on. So all those can be done. So people process interaction, yeah, where we can have a graph. During the initiation, we realize that at the initiation stage, we have our levels, of course, starting and then dropping a bit, then later they can raise and then up to the what? The finish line. Planning phase. Yeah, planning sometimes it takes some good time. Yeah, now for example, during the agile methodology, we realize that we do planning for each and every module that we have to work on. Then executing takes some time. So here it is about the work items versus the time they take. So that is why you see monitoring and controlling moving from point number one or from start to the end when the curve is at high level. Then closure. So this is the project. So whereby it is a project and it will be shared currently. So that is when we are really accomplishing our project. Then you will have to go through these questions. So that is all what I had for this. Then let's go to another chapter, which also has quite a number of interesting areas that we need to look at. Thank you very much, and I expect to receive feedback from each project team member. When I say project team member, I'm talking about members of this class. I should expect feedback from you regarding this presentation I've just made. It can be in the form of questions, it can be in the form of supplement, it can be in the form of any form of feedback, but so long as I've heard from you in this video. So we are going to use Moodle to receive your feedback. So let me just go and add feedback for lecture, actually chapter 1. So you can post your feedback in terms of comments. Otherwise, thanks. So we can have this come to an end, and then we can join the next